Hello, my dear students. I congratulate those who have submitted their output for this activity. But for those who have not yet posted, please find time to comply with this activity since there will be more activities to come in for our final requirement. So I'd like to show to you my version on how I revised my old program, on how I incorporated the while condition and the loop statement. So we look back first to my old program. If I run it, it will ask the user for the date manually, and the user will write the full name, and then again the user will the user of the program will write the date of the first exposure. Now notice that when there's two different months, there's an error on the computation. So this was improved, or this is improved for my revised program. And here when this is filled up, there's no more entry. Okay, I have to run back the program to be able to get another empty list or empty record for another user. So what I did, if I go to my new program here, okay, so for my new program, I have here the import statement to get the datetime module. Okay. I get rid of the part wherein the user will have to write the date, wherein you can just automatically reflect the date today, okay, using this built-in module. So this is for the date today that is stored in this variable, and then the date next day. So I use the date next day for the while condition. Now these part are the empty list that's going to be used in the for statement or for loop statement. So the while condition was used for repeating for a new list or a new recording list for another patient. So while the date today is not equal to the date on the next day, so the program had to go through with this command. So I have it needs to print the date today, and since the date today is an object, I have to convert it to a string and store it to another variable. Okay, that's called convert underscore string 1 or str1. Well, this is important for a user to input, or for a recorder to input the date of first exposure. And then with those information, okay, I have to convert those into an integer. Remember that if we get from an input function, it's always a string class. Okay, so here using the indices 3 to 5 of the date of exposure, actually those are the days that's inputted, and converted it to an integer and place it to the date of the first exposure. Okay, and I also convert the string that I got from the date today, okay, into an integer and put it as a variable date today. And then this one is for the month. Okay, so I have to convert the string into an integer and put it into the month of the first exposure, and also for the month today. So those were used in this part. And if the month of the first exposure less the month today is equal to 0, then automatically the system will read wherein the date today will be subtracted to the date of the first exposure, so that we'll be able to get the number of days since the exposure. And I have to print it. Okay, else if the month of the first exposure less the month today is not equal to 0, then I have to add 30 to the date today minus the date of the first exposure. Okay, and when you print it, so you'll have the number of days since exposure. Next part is for the swab test result. So if the swab test result is equal to positive, then there's such advice for the security or for the offices to monitor that the patient should be transferred to CIU. And I have here the 4 statement summarizing all the names that was recorded as names with positive swab results. Okay, so for I in range num, okay, and you have to have then they have to input the full name, okay, and then here the name underscore pos dot append means to say that the system will add every time there will be a new name inputted here, the system will append or will add it to this entry lists. Okay, recalling that I have here the entry list created beforehand. Now, and that goes also with the result wherein if it's negative. So there's this advice that the offices should monitor. Okay, and this one is I use the for loop statement to get the summary list of names with negative swab results. Else, that is when there's no swab tests conducted, then we also need to have a summary of those lists that are that went through some consultation. So if we run this, if we run this, then you'll have like let's say the date of first exposure is last October 20, okay, and okay, with the date today less the date of the first exposure, so 12 days passed already. And then for the swab test result, let's say I'll put positive, and so that's the general advice. Then I'll have to put the name, and that's the list of names, okay, with positive sub results. So I'll show again, let's say I'll put here another entry, and then that's October 1, 20, number of days since exposure. Okay, so 31 days, number, let's say let's say negative. Okay, and then we'll ask for the name, and then it puts there Greg. Now let's say 10, 25, 20, so that's 7 days, and it so happened that it's positive, and then I'll record the name, and there you have the summary of all the names listed. So there are actually some glitches. There are still areas to be improved that we see, but okay, so that's Anne. Or let me try again. 26, 26 days, this time it's negative, and Harry, okay, so there's a summary list there. So again, as I said, there are areas that needs to be improved here, but for our requirement, just to use the while statement and the for loop statement is already served. So that's it for my output for this activity. Thank you for viewing.